have a topic today that I was asked to speak on, and it's something that a lot of us across Extension have been getting calls and discussions about. And just running into people in town or at the store where they sell pesticide products, I'll start talking to people. And the common concern is, well, I buy these herbicide products and I spray them on my driveway or in my garden or whatever, and they just don't work anymore. And I think the biggest thing is just a lack of understanding that the labels have changed a lot in the last few years. And it's caused confusion for everyone across the board, from homeowners to industry, as these products, for example, Roundup, it's still called Roundup, but if you look at the labels, there's a whole bunch of Roundups and they're all different. So I titled this Roundup. It's not just about glyphosate anymore. Now, for those of you who've never looked at a label, it used to be that Roundup was made out of glyphosate. That's the active ingredient, the main ingredient that does the job. And now there's a whole list of different ingredients and different percentages of those ingredients and formulations. And that's what's causing so much confusion. So the first thing I want to mention, and we always say in pesticide education, the label is the law. And that really has a double meaning. One, legally, you are mandated to follow everything on that label. But the other side of that is that it's really kind of like you hear the law of the land. The label lays out how to use that pesticide product properly. And I would say 95% of the time, just off the top of my head, the reason the products aren't working is because people haven't fully read the label. And Zach just gave us the weather report. That's a classic key to using, especially herbicides, properly. If you don't apply when the label says the weather is correct, you're probably not going to get good results. I see that right here in central Missouri. People spray these herbicides and it doesn't work. And I say, what do I do? I follow the label and said, well, it says do not apply during excessive heat because the plant shuts down and can't take the herbicide in. When did you apply it? Oh, it was 102 degrees in the middle of the day during the main part of the hot season. Not going to work very well. So it's critical to read the label. Now, this photo shows some conifer trees here in Missouri. And if you look at them, they don't look too healthy. The bottom is torched, but the top is alive. And so you ask, well, what went wrong here? I mean, is there some kind of insect that starts at the bottom and works its way up the tree? Did that lake in the background flood and killed those branches? No, this is your standard herbicide application with a homeowner who put down a weed and feed type product and it burned those trees around the bottom. And so once again, if you look at the label, it'll typically say what plants this can be used on. So if it's a lawn care product, but you have trees or shrubs or commonly garden plots, the vapor from those herbicides can drift over onto those other plants that the herbicide is not labeled for. So it's critical to choose the right product. Here's another picture of trees burned by a weed and feed product here in Missouri. And you can see it looks like an oak tree. It's hard to even tell anymore, but those look like oak leaves. And that tree got burned by the lawn care product that was put down underneath it. So it's critical to read all the way through that label. It's a good investment of your time to make sure you use it right in the right place at the right time. So I'm going to quickly go through just some examples of what you're going to see when you go to these different stores or nurseries or wherever you buy your pesticide products. And Roundup and 7 are the classic examples that have thrown so much confusion into the society. First, looking at the Roundup, there's 3 different cool looking Roundup bottles. You got blue, purple, and red, right? But they're not all the same. And one of them is just your ready to use underneath the word Roundup there. Another one is weed and grass killer, super concentrate. And then you have your concentrate plus. What's the difference? So let's take the ready to use. Ready to use literally means it's ready to use. You just buy that bottle, go out and squirt it. Put on your glove, hopefully, and then just squirt that on those weeds in your driveway or whatever, wherever you're trying to kill. Now, what I did on this slide is I zoomed into the active ingredients. Now, I mentioned earlier, Roundup was traditionally glyphosate. Well, glyphosate got a real bad name with all the lawsuits and the radio ads and everything. And so my guess is they started using different active ingredients just to get rid of that bad hype about glyphosate. And so this product I drew in here the actual words so you can read them a little better, but tricloper, fluazepop, and diquat. So it's not glyphosate anymore. It doesn't work the same. And if you compare the old labels to these new ones, they're not going to work on all the same plants. And so you just need to be aware of this. You're not using the same product you used to. Another issue here is if you look at those three active ingredients, you're talking less than 1% of each of those active ingredients. Now we look at the concentrate plus. This one also is tricloper, fluazepop, and diquat, but it has much higher percentage. It has twice as much diquat and maybe 5 times more of the other two active ingredients. So you can't use this the same. You can't have two products sitting there and go, oh, I'll just use this super concentrate plus at the same rate as the other one. So again, there's all these little details that aren't that complicated if you read the label. And then the purple one, this is your super concentrate. It actually is glyphosate. It doesn't have the diquat and the other products in it, and it's at a pretty high percentage. It's like 50% or so. So this one, you're going to want to really read the label and make sure you measure out exactly how much they say to add to the water. Now, this is another thing a lot of people overlook. A lot of times you won't find something like this on the label, but the company will have supplemental information. You can Google this. Here's a product usage chart for Roundup, and you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 different Roundup products. And you're not going to always find all of these in each store, but if you shop around, you can find what you need. And I'll show you the next slide. I kind of zoomed in here, and I'll just focus on 3. And you notice here that if you have vegetable gardens, you don't want to be using Roundup Max or extended control. And this is another problem we see is people just, oh, it's just Roundup. They don't look at the color of the carton or the percentage of active ingredients or the active ingredient list. They think it's just Roundup. I've always used Roundup in this situation. And now they have this toxic material not meant for vegetable gardens, and they nuke their vegetable garden, and then you can't eat it. You have to throw it away. So it's critical to make sure you have the right product for the right job. And this just kind of illustrates that these two products not good for vegetable gardens, and even the Roundup Max not good for your tree rings. It's another problem I saw as an arborist years ago was using Roundup around the tree ring, soaks into the roots. Next thing you know, your trees are curling up. And so it's so simple. You just find this information on the labels and the supplemental information, and it can save you a lot of headaches and a lot of damage to your plants and trees. And of course, there's other brands. In this case, the Compare and Save glyphosate. So there's other brands that you can get the same products you're looking for. So I'll quickly go through the 7 products. This is one that's really thrown a monkey wrench in people too. The old 7 was synonymous with carbaryl. Well, carbaryl has been going away, and so you notice this 7 carbaryl 5% dust kills 65 insect species. But then you get your lawn and garden insect killer, and this one kills over 100 insects. And this one, though, has a different product. It's zeta-cypermethrin and bifenthrin. So it's totally different. And then the 7 insect killer ready to use is lambda-cyhalothrin, almost 0 in there. It doesn't take much of that stuff because it's so toxic to insects. But this one kills 130 insects. Now we're up to 150 with the bifenthrin, over 500 with the zeta-cypermethrin at 0.35%, much higher percentage. And so, again, you can't just go grabbing that red bottle off the shelf. It's important to read the different ones. And if you know what pest you have, that's, I think, one of the most important things. Go to your extension office and say, hey, here's a bag full of these bugs that are crawling all over my zucchini or my shrubs or whatever. What are these? And figure out exactly what you have. Read that label. And then you can go through here and find the least toxic option, but make sure you're still going to get good knockdown. And of course, the 2-in-1 disease and insect control, I wanted to mention this. This is sulfur. It's not those toxic permethrin type products, but it's there to help with disease control. And so this is something you want to be careful of. I'm not saying this is a bad product. It might be great for what you're trying to do, but be careful about these kills all multiple benefit pesticides that do multiple control. For example, a disease and an insect control in one package, because in a lot of cases, you don't want to kill the fungus. It might go down into the soil and kill all your beneficial fungi and maybe even bacteria and the microbes in the soil and create a less healthy garden environment when all you wanted to do was kill some squash bugs. And the same thing, you might be trying to knock out a fungal problem, but now you kill all your beneficial insects. So again, knowing what you have, what your target is, and what the product does, all this just illustrates how critical it is to read the labels. And that's my last slide of a nuke to one. This is a bad application here in Colombia. And again, this stuff doesn't have to happen. As a pesticide applicator, we would take a half an hour if we had to read the label. It usually didn't take that long back then. But make sure we match up the product for the situation and know what we're doing before we just go spraying what we thought was a product we used last year. So thank you for listening. I hope this was informative for you, and I hope you'll all make better pesticide decisions going forward and help spread the message, because this has been a huge issue all over the United States. So thank you.